Hey guys, Ryan from SoleFit. So we're always on the lookout for new home care tools to deal with mobility issues and strengthening issues. And we were pretty excited to come across, about a year ago, tissue floss bands. For those of you who've been in to see us, we've probably talked to you about them when you're here. We did a blog post a couple months ago about why we might be using these bands. So we're not going to get too much in today about why we use them, but we just wanted to give you a little walkthrough on how to use the bands. So one thing that's really important to remember when you're wrapping the bands is to always wrap up towards the heart. So as an example, if you're wrapping your ankles, you'd maybe start mid-arch, wrap up across the ankle joint, and then further up your calves. So always trying to push the blood flow back up towards the heart when you're wrapping. So the floss bands are definitely meant to be tight. That's one of the reasons that they work so well, is because of the amount of pressure they exert on an area. But tighter isn't always better. So kind of as a rule of thumb when you're wrapping, typically look for about 70 to 80% of the maximum stretch from the band. And when you're wrapping, you'll find that some areas are a little bit easier to get at on your own than others. So if you can wrap the area on your own, absolutely go ahead. If you're finding that it's difficult to wrap, definitely maybe recruit some help to help you wrap those more difficult areas. So once you've got that band on nice and tight, you want to work the area that you've wrapped through a range of motion. If you're wrapping up across a joint, you want to work that joint in the direction that it normally moves. So as an example, if we're wrapping the ankle joint, once you have the band on, pull the toes up towards your shins, then push the toes down towards the floor, and even do a little bit of inversion and eversion. Now you can do this sitting or you can do this standing. If you're working a muscle group, basically apply the band to the muscle group and then stretch the muscle as you normally would. So if you're putting the band on your calves, once the band is on, go up against a wall and just do some calf stretches. So the bands are definitely meant to be tight, so you're probably not going to want to leave them on that long. Generally, we recommend about 60 seconds to a maximum of 2 minutes, but best to probably err on the side of caution when you're starting out. Maybe start at 45 seconds, see how your body responds, and then increase as you go. Once the bands have been taken off, always good to check the joint for a range of motion or for the muscle group for a range of motion, just to see if you see any marked improvement. If you have an injured area, you could definitely floss the area, even 3 to 5 times a day. If you're looking for more maintenance work, if you maybe have a little niggly area that's typically giving you problems, even trying to get that spot 2 or 3 times a week can be very, very beneficial. And remember, floss bands can be used pretty much anywhere. You can wrap them. Ankles, feet, calves, knees, quads, even wrists, elbows, or shoulders. Really, really valuable tool to break down some of those adhesions that have built up. Okay, so just a little summary. First of all, check the joint range of motion or muscle range of motion before you actually put the bands on, just to see where you're at. When wrapping the bands, always wrap up towards your heart. Generally, when you're applying the band, use about 70 to 80% of the maximum stretch of the band. And once you have the band on, leave it on and work through a range of motion in the joint or in the muscle group. Leave it on for about 1 minute to 2 minutes. And then once the band is off, check range of motion again to see how much you've improved. So there's certainly no shortage of mobility tools available these days, but we're pretty excited about the floss bands. We just see it work really, really well in our clinic. Now, as with any of these mobility tools, always good to check in with your healthcare practitioner before setting out, just to make sure it's the right tool for you. And as always, we'd love to hear your feedback or any questions. Feel free to leave a message here on our website or at any of our social media outlets. And both for comments on this video and any potential requests for future blog posts or videos. We'd love to hear them. Okay, thanks guys. Thanks for listening.